Women are like a volume knob. Men are like a light switch. And the more that you could understand this analogy and start to implement this into your dating life, the more effective you will be in running conversations that lead to dates, the smoother you will be with your escalation to give that smooth, natural feel, and the easier it will be to actually just spark emotions, spark attraction with women, because we think like men, we are programmed like men, right? So if you're out and you see an attractive woman, the first thing you're thinking is, holy shit, she's really hot. I want to get to know her. I would love to date her. I'd love to have that woman in bed. She's exactly my type. I'm in. I'm down. I don't really care too much about her. Like most men, if you see your 10 out of 10 physical, and I'm not saying that we're shallow, I'm just saying, like, guys, as men, one of the most important characteristics for our mate, especially on a biological level, is she needs to have the right proportions, she needs to have the right look, the right amount of youthfulness, she needs to look and act a certain way. And so like the majority, at least 60 to 70%, you can see, at least from that initial point. So when men see women, that's why we are the light switch, because instantly we're down, right? Now, compare that to women. They're not the same way. And this is probably why so many men are hyper fixated on looks maxing, because we think that all humans are the same. We're not all the same. And in fact, from a biological standpoint, it makes sense why a man would need the woman to have certain proportions and certain amount of youthfulness and a certain look, because it's all about replication, right? So when we're reproducing, the woman is birthing our kid. That's where attraction comes from. It's an evolutionary thing for survival. We need to, for the human race to go on, we need to reproduce. In order for us to reproduce, we need to be drawn biologically to the opposite sex. The way that we choose those partners is based on a replication scan. And what we're looking for in the women is, will she be able to deliver our baby? Does she have good genetics? Does she have the right proportions to give birth? Does she have voluptuous curves, aka healthy reproductive organs that can help make the baby survive, right? That's like really what it comes down to. Now, from her perspective, it's not the same genetic traits. She doesn't care about those things. She cares about, do we have good genetics so for the baby to thrive? Are we a good protector, provider? Are we safe and trustworthy? If we were to impregnate her, will her baby have good genetics? Will those baby's genetics thrive in a good environment because you can protect her once she's impregnated for 9 months and has the baby? It's different. Once we impregnate a woman, we're chilling. I could go dip off. Once she's impregnated, she needs us. Okay, so the more that you could start to understand that, we have different mating goals. Men, light switch. Women, volume knob. Now let's get into some more specifics around this, because if you're escalating with a woman, think about 0 to 100 escalation, and think about the light switch as just going from off to on. That is from 0 to 100. That is how most men try to do this. And you could even blame it on porn and movies and society, right? Like growing up for me, I rewired my brain to get aroused through watching a screen late at night when I was by myself and horny. And so what I taught myself is, the moment I'm horny, I just go on this thing, I can see the naked woman, and I just get to it. And I'm down for that. And then that was literally how I trained my brain to go through the arousal process. That isn't necessarily how women work, right? Women aren't a light switch. Women are a volume knob. You need to preheat the oven. There is a certain series of escalation that you're going to need to do to get them more warmed up, to get them more bought in, right? And my advice is, the slower you could escalate up that process incrementally, the more natural it will feel, the less resistance you'll get, the easier it is to calibrate and judge what is the next move, right? So if I were to look back on the old me, when I started to run dates, I wouldn't do any escalation. I knew from my perspective I was down. I didn't know how to get her to be down too. And so what I would do is I would run the date would start, there would be 0 escalation going on the whole date. And then as we're getting towards the end of the date, I'm starting to think, damn, how am I gonna make this jump? Fuck it, am I just gonna make the move? And for the first 6 first dates, I didn't make any moves. And the date would end and I'd be pissed off on myself. On like the 7th first date with this girl, Valeria, really hot chick that I met from this gym. It wasn't even the first day. The first day I still didn't make the move. Second day I was like, no matter what, I'm making this move. Anything other than going home and not making a move. But I still had zero escalation the whole date. And at the very end of the date, I just abruptly lunged in and tried to kiss her. Just tried to go from 0 to 100. Right? Because I didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. But once you understand this concept, you need to start to think about it as like, if I'm gonna think about the volume knob, if I'm gonna get up to 100 on the volume, it doesn't go, the volume knob is not a light switch volume knob. The volume knob is something you need to turn. So I can't just flip a switch and now it's at 20%. The only way to get there is to crank it from 0 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 20. Right? You need to crank it up incrementally. So that starts from the moment you meet the woman. My advice is, if this is the full length of an interaction, right? You should start going from 0 to 10 as soon as possible, because to go from 0 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I mean, we're talking about 1% escalations here. So when you're doing a 1% escalation, it's so small, it's unnoticeable. It's unrecognizable. You don't feel a shift. So smaller escalations actually means undetectable, not a big deal. Unnoticeable if I was to actually pull back on the escalation, and also less pressure on me to escalate. A 50% escalation, imagine like a 3 setting light switch, right? A 50% escalation is a huge jump. And when guys get nervous and when guys aren't smooth, it's solely because they're doing these huge escalation jumps. So if there was any one thing I could do to teach you to be smoother with your escalation with women, it's to start to think about, if I'm gonna get to 100%, that means way before that I need to get to 90, way before that I need to get to 80, before that I need to get to 70, to 60, to 50. You just start to reverse engineer 10 or maybe even 20 twists of a volume knob that would slowly get you there. And also, if we're thinking about the full length of an interaction, the longer you wait to do those first couple moves, well, now I'm gonna need to really cram all of this into a shorter period of time, which means it's gonna be a steeper slope, AKA a bigger jump. Or if I wait till the complete end, it's gonna have to be a light switch jump. Women are not a light switch. Women are a volume knob. If you ever tried to abruptly lunge at a woman, most of the time it doesn't work unless you've already missed so many signs. And even if it worked, I promise you, it would be so much smoother. You would come off so much more confident. You would come off so much more high value. You could even get the woman to start chasing and escalating on you when you do this properly. So don't wait. The moment the interaction starts, you can go from 0 to 1, to 2, to 3, to 4, to 5. Like, I would actually recommend, if you're going on a date, the moment the date starts, nice warm hug, warm greeting, look her dead in the eyes and just tell her the moment the date starts, you look really cute tonight, by the way. Nice little physical escalation, nice little verbal escalation. And that's already more than 1%. That's more than what most men do on their entire date sometimes. So just set the tone. And then throughout the date, throughout the interaction with women, you're slowly sprinkling in more and more and more and more and more in a way that feels natural and acceptable because of how incremental it went up. Okay? The woman's not ready to kiss you the moment the date starts, even if she's extremely physically attracted to you. The other easy analogy about this is like the movie analogy. You don't jump into the movie and when the movie starts, it's the fucking climax of the movie. Think about how a movie builds up. The climax of the movie will never be in the first half of the movie, unless it's a complete shit movie. The climax is always towards the tail end of the movie. Think about that. Why is that? There's a build-up. There's emotional buy-in. There's a plot development. There's a connection that you will build with the main character of the movie. There needs to be those in order to experience a wide array of emotions, and also in order for the climax of the movie to hit very powerful. Women want emotion. They don't really care about just you putting your D in her. And if she does, she is not right in the head. That means her circuitry is really off, and I would not trust that woman or want to date that woman long term. Okay? So the more you can start to think about this in your dates and your escalation and start to break, just if there's one piece, it's start sooner with your escalation and start smaller with your escalation. Starting sooner doesn't mean higher pressure. Starting later with big jumps means higher pressure. So start early in a safe way, and then slowly yet frequently, we're cranking up that escalation the same way I would turn up a volume knob. And this is not just for date 1 or date 2. The entire dating and courtship should just be a slow, natural build-up that leads all the way up to bliss and love and relationship. Okay, so this analogy applies to the initial approach, the moment you go up and start a conversation with a woman. The initial interaction itself, like you should start with a little bit of intent, and every minute or two there's an injection of teasing and flirting and escalation and leading, all the way up to setting up the date. Then when the date starts, there's a little bit of escalation, giving a nice little hug and intent. And then every 10 minutes throughout the date, there's a little injection of physicality, of intent, of teasing, of playful push away, of us getting closer, of us leading and moving to a new location, of us physically coming a little bit closer to each other. There's just a buildup of this, a nice, natural, smooth volume knob progression throughout the entire dating that's ultimately going to get you the woman and make her feel the most comfortable, and ironically also get you there the fastest. Huge jumps equals resistance. You hit resistance, you go back down. Now her guard's up. And most men escalate in a very predictable manner. Okay? Start to use this analogy when you're interacting with women if you want to be smooth, natural, and ultimately have success. Now, if you want to get coaching by me to really build this to an advanced skill set so you could understand all the different technicalities in conversation, in escalation, in dating, in cold approach, I'd love to work with you personally so you can get to that level. Watching YouTube videos alone is not going to make you a master at this. Click the link down below. You can apply to work with me directly. That's all for this video, fellas. Peace out.